everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Ghost Furnace. I am Bond, and I am not here with Nick this evening, but I am with our new friend Dana from the Black Cat Tarot. How are you doing, Dana?
I'm really good, Bond. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So the reason we don't have Nick with us tonight is he is busy with some musical endeavors that you will all hear about soon. We wanted to kind of keep things rolling, and I had my first ever tarot reading last week with Dana at Black Cat Tarot in Harmony, PA. As a lot of you know, I've been doing tarot for a long time now, but I've never actually done a reading from anyone else. So I was really kind of curious to see how it would go. So I booked a session with Dana, got a reading, and was absolutely blown away with the experience. So thankfully, Dana was gracious enough to come on the podcast tonight, where we're going to finally have my long-awaited tarot-specific episode. So how does that sound, Dana?
It sounds great. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you because this is something that has come up like tangentially in a lot of our episodes over the years, especially anytime I mention like weird things that have happened to me. I'm usually like, oh, then this weird tarot thing happened. There's weird synchronicity, or me and my one friend pulled the same cards and then this weird thing happened. But we've never got a chance to really dig into tarot. And the reason I kind of haven't yet is like when we were talking earlier, I said that like I really wanted someone who was much more of an expert than myself to come on and have the conversation with everybody, because I do want to like educate folks and not just like tell my hopefully fun little stories. So what we kind of want to do tonight was talk about tarot in general. And then because you actually do like these readings for people and everything, I have a lot of questions. And I think a lot of people have questions about just like how that experience is for you. So, we should probably start out for those who aren't familiar, just in your kind of summation, what is tarot?
Okay, well, I think the non-woo answer would
Yes,
be
let's start there.
it is a set of cards that represents the entirety of the human experience.
Mm,
So even if you are looking at it from a purely non-spiritual standpoint,
hmm
there's going to be something in there that relates to you.
hmm
And I think I don't know. I try to generally explain it in a way that like is not woo heavy because I think
For like an intro to something,
for it,
exactly. Yeah, like let's
yeah,
start with the
yeah,
basics. Yeah.
right. Because it's not like I'm connecting with Lucifer,
hmm
to give you a
Well,
message.
right, right. Yeah. So you're starting with just the cards and everything, and I think a lot of people that have seen tarot cards over the years are probably familiar with like what's called like the Rider-Waite tarot deck,
Yeah,
um, and have seen that there's just a lot of like really wild imagery that has lots of symbolism in it. It looks like, but there's obviously like a lot of different types of tarot cards, different decks and everything. But all of them generally have what is referred to as like what the major and minor arcana, correct? And
yeah.
like what is like what do those kind of encompass? Like I love that you said the like the breadth of the human experience, because I think that's a really beautiful way of putting it. How do those two kind of like elements merge into that?
So the major arcana is sort of your big life events that you're meant to really learn a lesson from.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a lot of those in a spread, it kind of means like there's a lot of flux happening, but it's like
Mm.
big changes that need to be happening for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Whereas the minor arcana is more like your everyday kind of things, but those can support the messages coming through from the majors.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. I mean, that's so so you kind of have like the big heavy hitting cards, then you have like the supporting more specific cards. Now there are like suits. Like I don't even know if other tarot readers call them suits. I call them suits.
They're
But
the
like
suits. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
like so you have like you have cups, you have pentacles, you have swords, and you have wands. Generally,
Yeah.
some decks have different variations on that. But now what do those generally symbolize? Those four different suits.
Okay, so wands are going to be there's some overlap, but like wands are going to
Right.
be like career, creativity, passion. Think
Hmm.
like real, they're made of wood, so think like a lot of fiery kind of energy.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Cups are going to be like love, family,
Hmm.
connection, emotion, um,
Hmm.
relationships. Pentacles are very grounded, very earthy. It can be
Hmm.
health, can be monetary stuff,
Hmm.
it can be job, but distinction from wands, because pentacles is more like a job you're just doing because you need the money,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
But a wand is more of like a career that you're really passionate
Passionate
about.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what's left? Swords are kind of intellect.
Hmm.
It can be messages. It can be, but like all of the swords in tarot are double sided. So it can be
Hmm.
like a thought or an idea, but it can also be the flip side, anxiety,
Hmm.
stress, that kind of stabby energy.
Yeah. Very, very action oriented. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, see, yeah, there's a lot going on, and but I think it's important to kind of set the groundwork. If that's kind of what we're dealing with, there's 72 cards in a deck. Is that right?
78.
78? Okay, I was close. So there's a lot of cards, so there's a lot of variation, but there is some overlap in everything, and that's kind of where the art of reading tarot seems to come in, where it's not like you just pull a card and look at, oh, this precisely means thing one, two, and three. The cards have meaning depending on how they sit in in a reading, how the question is offered, and just kind of the greater context of the event that you're kind of like focusing on, it seems like. So would you agree that there is like the I won't say intuitive side, but literal side of the card meaning, and also what you feel about a card whenever you pull it?
Yeah, and there's so much to take into account because
Mm-hmm.
they mean something on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They mean something kind of what they've historically meant. But as you said, you got to look at where they're situated in a spread, if you're using a
Mm-hmm.
spread, how they're interacting with the cards around them.
Right.
Different artwork in a different deck can completely change. You could have the same spread in two different decks, but if the
Mm-hmm.
artwork's different, it could have an entirely different
Right.
meaning. And then sometimes you just get like intuition will just throw something into your head that you've never even considered for that card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you have to take that into account too, because
Right.
that's happening for a reason.
Hmm. No, I think that's a really important thing too, because I think people need to understand that there's so much variety and variation going on here. It's not like it's just like two plus two equals four. And I love how you mentioned like the direction of the cards and how they sit in the spread, because like that was something that like I very rarely think of. But whenever we were doing my reading, there was how the star fit in, and you were like specifically saying how it's interacting with the card next to it, like how it's turning towards it. And I was just like, oh my God, that is exactly what's happening right there, you know? So
It's so cool when they do
yeah,
that.
right. Yeah. It's just, it really, yeah. So it's fascinating. So now, so like, I think everyone who gets into tarot has like their own roundabout way of getting into it. So like for you, how did you first come to being interested in tarot in the first place?
Okay, well, I my day job, it kind of ebbs and flows, and it
Mm-hmm.
was ebbing substantially. So tarot was something I'd always been interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, because it's so taboo,
Right.
and I thought it would be just a fun thing to learn because honestly, I thought it would freak people out.
Yeah. 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 No,
um,
that's legit. Yeah.
yeah, I really had this perception of what I thought it was, and then
Mm-hmm.
I really went like headlong into studying it. I kind of like treated it like a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a number of courses, I worked with a mentor, and I was really, really shocked by what I found because it was not at all what I thought it
Mm-hmm.
was.
Right.
And it's wild because it just completely flipped my interpretation of it and made me like it more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I kind of just expected to like just be one of those things I dabbled with, and then I
Right.
just, you
So
know,
that's fascinating. So like, was there can you recall like a turning point or a moment where you're like, oh, this isn't just like a fun little thing. Like there's something going on here, either as a form of like exposing greater truth or something that you were particularly adept or into.
I think just like learning the meanings of especially like the major arcana, because you
Hmm.
there's all these traditional meanings out there,
Right.
and like we discussed earlier, there's kind of this idea that it's like a dark cloud over them, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Right.
in a movie like someone will get the death card and then death is literally coming
Right.
for them, but
Right.
it's not that at all. It's like
Hmm.
death is a change that's coming for you, whether you want it or not, and
Hmm.
all you can control there is how you respond to that change.
Right.
And
Right.
I love that there's still agency
Hmm.
in, it's not like
Right.
you have no control. I think they reinforce that you do have control, and I
Right.
really like that about the cards.
Oh, that's really interesting. So like when it comes to like your reinterpretation versus like it almost sounds like the reading of the cards where some people might have originally been like, "Oh, this is something telling you your future or whatever." It seems like you maybe had an experience where you were like, "Oh, this actually does give like this is making me realize how much autonomy and control I do have over my fate and situations." Is that kind of accurate or
Yeah, because I don't look at it as fortune telling
right?
anymore.
Hmm.
That's the perception I had for sure.
Hmm.
But now I really view it as more of a tool for seeing what different paths could look like.
Right.
But you ultimately still have control over which path you're going to take.
Hmm. Right. That's a good way of putting it. And I think that like for myself, I use it very much as like a reflective tool. I find
Yeah.
the cards that are in my friends that I do tarot with often will attest to this. It's often when I pull a card and I go, well, that's not right. And then 2 or 3 days later, I'm like, oh,
Yep.
I didn't know that about myself, you know? Like, and like you said, there's lots of non-textbook ways to look at things. That's like part of the fun, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so like speaking of like cards and textbook ways of looking at things, do you have a favorite card? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, the Queen of Wands.
Queen of Wands. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very cool.
She has a black cat.
Hmm.
I dig
Yeah.
that. She's just kind of like man spread all over her throne. She doesn't
Hmm.
care.
Right.
And she's fire and water energy,
Hmm.
and that's alchemy. So she's just pure magic.
Right. Just
I
pure
love her.
magic. I
Yeah,
love
she's
that.
great.
I love that. I love that. No, do you have a least favorite card? Like you mentioned, people like often think, oh, death is like a bad card. I know we've personally talked about how people think the tower is always like the worst card. And
Uh-huh.
I just don't agree with that either. But like, do you
I
have a
don't
least
either.
favorite card? Do you have a card that you pull and you're like, not you again?
I don't like the strength card.
Oh, really? So what is it about the strength card that you pull that you feels is like, do you feels like oppressive to you or like,
I don't like that there's like this kind of quiet manipulation aspect to it.
oh, interesting. Okay. I'm curious.
Where she's controlling that
Mm-hmm.
lion, but and she's doing it quietly, but I'm uncomfortable with the level of manipulation there. Like that's what I see in the card. I don't see her being like strong. I see like, okay, what's her end game here? What's she doing to this lion?
Right. Right. That's so and that's a perfect example right there of like why different decks are so different is because like I for the past few months have mainly been using my like B deck,
Yeah,
which like the strength card in that one is just like this really strong bumblebee. And like the art doesn't have any of that manipulation side to it kind of thing versus like
that changes
yeah.
the whole thing.
Right, yeah. So that's so interesting. But you're right, in the Rider Waite deck, that makes a lot of sense.
I also hate the lovers. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
That's very strong, but
Hmm.
I think traditionally everyone thinks of it as like soulmates and
Right,
love.
right.
But if you look at the Rider Waite artwork, it's
Hmm.
so complicated. There's this
Yeah.
fiery angel, and then Adam
Right.
is he's looking to Eve, but she's not looking to him. She's looking to
hmm
the angel. So
Right.
there's this like choice situation going on, and I just feel
hmm
like it's so much more layered than just like it's love, you know?
Right, precisely. I think and a lot that we're talking about this because I feel like there are people out there who are into tarot. They're going to hear our responses to these and send me emails being like, actually, um,
Oh, because
I'm sure
it's
because
so
everyone's
different.
yes, which is the
So
beautiful. That's the beautiful thing
yes,
about it. That's the beautiful thing
and
about
that's
it.
okay. That's
Right, it
totally
is.
okay.
It is, and that's again why I think, especially with the major arcana, like you were saying, there's like big things. They often need clarification. Like usually, just like getting that card on its own doesn't like tell you a whole lot. It needs to be
Yeah,
in the context of like the question and the spread, and maybe a clarification card to like suss some of that out.
yeah,
So yeah, it's not as simple as just someone being like, "Oh, I got the death card today. Hope I don't die."
right.
It's like, man, it's not how like one, no, two, like anything in life, it's not that black and white.
Yes.
Speaking of like decks and everything, because again, a lot of people, I know there's people out there that literally just collect tarot decks and don't really do much with them. What deck are you most excited about right now?
The Terra Volatile. That's my favorite.
Oh,
That
nice.
one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a new expansion. So it's just to explain it a little bit, it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of like this build your own deck. There's like the standard deck that you can buy, but then
Mm-hmm.
they keep releasing like expansion packs with other options to substitute in if you align with different artwork for a
Mm-hmm.
card, or there's even like a whole new suit if you want to use that.
Ooh,
Some people use the whole
fascinating.
deck. I think it's like 200 plus cards. You could do
Yikes.
that if you want.
Yikes.
Yeah, just like take all my money.
I know, right? That's a fascinating idea. No, if someone starts selling tarot booster packs, I'm in trouble. Like I've been very good. I haven't done that stuff since I was a kid, but I like with like Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon cards. But I think if that happened again, I'd be like, oh well, just one pack, and then
Yeah, that's how it starts.
exactly, yeah, famous last words.
Yeah.
But speaking of like getting stuff and everything, if someone out there so far is listening to us and being like, "Oh, this actually sounds really interesting and doesn't, necessarily sound like what I thought." If someone wants to get into tarot, how would you recommend someone like think about it, or how should someone start with tarot if they're brand new?
I think just buy a deck. Um,
hmm
I mean, I always recommend Rider Waite Smith first. I think that's because it's just the traditional
hmm
imagery, but if a deck speaks to you, buy it, and I think look at it before you look up what anything means.
Right.
Because I think the relationship that you form with a deck
hmm
and the impressions that you take from it are almost more important than some of
hmm
those textbook meanings.
Right.
But I think tarot, especially now, it's so accessible. It's not.
hmm
There's so many courses online. You can look up the meanings. There's so many
hmm
books. Like it's not something unreachable.
Yeah, it is accessible. It's not some like you don't need some like ancient grimoire to like
Yeah,
explain to you like and I love how there's like really like fun decks out there too. Like I bought for someone a few years ago, like it was just like a kitten deck. It was just kittens, you know? There was one that I got from my friends. It was called like Spooky Ghosts, and it was just like cartoon, like dumpy ghosts. It was great. Like the vibe just matched that person.
yeah.
So you can
I have a
find,
friend I only use my Golden Girls deck for. That is his deck. Whenever I read for him, it's only Golden
yeah,
Girls. It's
yeah.
spot on every time.
Oh my God, it's so funny. I one of my best friends got me a Philosopher's Tarot deck. I guess
Ooh,
about 2 years ago, and I haven't quite attuned with it yet. I use it. I use it mainly just for like intellectual thought experiment stuff, not so much for like daily pulls.
yeah,
Um, but it's like such like a niche thing. So like if you're into niche stuff, there's probably a tarot deck out there that matches that.
yes,
But I will say, just since we're talking about it, if you can support independent artists, buy from independent
yep,
bookstores. There's a lot of mass print, like copied stuff out there, which if that's all you can afford and that's what you need, cool. No shame on that. But if you can actually buy from the artists, please do.
Yeah, I do a lot of Kickstarter. I like supporting
Yes.
the artist on there.
hmm That's
And
actually
then
how
you
I,
forget you bought something and you get a fun surprise in like 6 months.
right. Right. Well, that's actually how I got my first deck that I utilized was my friend Bethany was designing an entire because she's mainly an illustrator,
Oh,
but
cool.
and she's into witchy stuff and everything, and she was designing this tarot deck, and I was like, you know what, I've started to come around on tarot, and this is years and years ago. I was like, you know what, I'll do the Kickstarter and everything, and like now here we are. That's how it starts sometimes. I
Do you use that deck?
I actually retired it
Okay,
because, and this is like where like we'll get into the weird stuff with tarot. Well, you know what? Let's get into the weird stuff with tarot.
let's do it.
Um, so that deck I retired for two reasons. One, that was the since it was my first deck and everything. That was the deck that I had like my first real like epiphanies with tarot with, and that was mainly around the Empress card. I pulled the Empress at a alarming level of consistency for like my daily vibe card for months, basically. It was really statistically anomalous. And my first big revelation with that was when a friend of mine who pull cards for each other every day. I think I told you about this when we had our session,
Yes.
but I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast, so I'll say it. This is the deck where basically me and I'm not sure if it was actually the Empress, but it was around the same time. I have to go back and look at my notes from that time or my journal from that time. But basically, me and my friend who pull cards for each other every day, it's just like a vibe card. I pulled a card for her, and as I was pulling that card, another card fell out. And as you know, people say like, when when you're doing tarot and a card falls out, what's the saying? Is it like what falls to the floor comes to your door or something? There's like a
Oh, I actually haven't. I just use it as kind of uh like a message that like had to get to you like right now.
right.
You know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean? Like, cause
very
yeah.
yeah, it's very just like, oh, so don't ignore that. Um,
Right, right.
so I pulled a card for her, and that kind of card that fell out. And so then when I'm texting her in the morning, she sends me the same two cards. So again, we only normally pull one card for each other. So I pulled a card and a card fell out. She pulled a card and a card fell out. And again, 78 cards in a deck. Like, so that freaked the hell out of me because I started to like do the math where like I don't think people realize that like probability like that it doesn't multiply, it squares itself basically. So like I did the math and like the odds were just like billions to one that could happen. And I did not like being on the receiving end of odds like that.
No.
And it really freaked me out. But it was one of the things that I think for me, I needed that kick in the butt to be like, no, there's something here, keep going. And like so like weird stuff happens with tarot, and the reason I retired that deck was because I didn't want to lose any more cards, because what ended up happening was I ended up losing 6 cards out of that deck, and this was a deck that didn't leave my desk in my room. There's no reason you should lose 6 cards. It doesn't go anywhere. Nothing happens. So that just like freaked me out enough that I was like, you know what? This deck is going back in the box in its little velvet pouch in the drawer for safekeeping. It's special and it stays over there. So now do you have any decks like that you're like, this is my like if you need like your Sammy Sosa bat deck, like do you have anything like that? I'm just curious.
I mean, I have a deck, the Baroque tarot deck, and
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
yeah, it's very cool, but I do not read reversals, and
hmm
the cards always end up upside down in there.
Yeah.
And I never like it. That's weird.
Yeah.
But I don't have any decks that like have done anything that I've felt I had to retire them.
Okay. Yeah.
I
No,
have
that's
some that
yeah.
are a little more honest, like a little
Yes.
more direct than
Yes.
others.
Absolutely.
I have some that are more gentle, so
Oh, for sure.
I kind of feel it out what kind of mood I'm in before I
Well, right. And but I
choose one.
think and I think that often says a lot about that's that self-reflective element coming out from tarot, and that's something that I know we've talked about, but like I think is really useful. Is it's like when you get a card that you pull that challenges how you feel, like it's such a great opportunity to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? And I think that ends up telling you a lot more than you would if you weren't. You would maybe just get if you were just trying to be self-reflective in like another way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's there's some weird stuff to it. Now, like speaking of like working with other people and everything, when did you start actually reading for other people and how did that go for you? Because like I'm very nervous to read for other people outside of like three of my friends.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, I've been like dabbling with tarot for a long time. I've
Hmm.
been reading for people for a little over 3 years.
Hmm.
I'd been reading for friends and stuff before that.
Right, right.
I prefer reading for strangers
Hmm. Oh,
because you don't,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
because you don't know them, and you're
Right.
purely. I can and I do read for people that I know, but you have
Hmm.
to be very aware of your own bias and your own opinions and
Hmm.
things like that. But if you have somebody coming in that you've never met, like you're just solely going off the cards, and I
Right.
I I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so interesting. So you've been doing that for a few years. So what and this is where I kind of want to switch gears a little bit into like your practice or your professional side here. Like what made you decide to start reading for other people in like a professional setting?
Um, I, I, I
Like was it something where you realized, "Hey, I'm really good at this and I think I can help people," or did you have enough people that told you you should be reading for other people that you're just like, like you're like, I guess I'll give it a shot, or was it something
it,
that you like strived for to get better at so you could do it, I guess?
yeah, I think all of those things.
Okay, yeah.
I did really work hard to learn the practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been reading for friends and family for a while, and I
Mm-hmm.
had an opportunity came up to do Sleepy Hollow in
Oh
Harmony.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that was like my first like foray
Mm-hmm.
into like reading for strangers. It was very like trial by fire because I had just been reading for friends and family,
Oh
and
my
then it was
God.
just like, yeah.
That sounds
Um,
terrifying. So I give you so much credit. That sound like as someone who's up in front of people all the time doing things that could be embarrassing. That's a big like I give you a lot of credit for that. That's tough.
oh,
Like how
thank you.
how was that first experience?
It was wonderful. It was so much fun.
Oh, that's
Everybody
awesome.
was so nice, and it was that experience of reading for others and realizing
Hmm.
like I can tell people something that they can like take home with them and think about
Right.
and help.
Hmm.
I really like that aspect of being able to like help people see another perspective of their situation and see
Right.
another path, or just learn things about themselves that maybe they didn't know. That was really, really rewarding, and
I bet.
I'm so glad I did it because it really made me just want to keep doing it.
Right, right. And I think that like that's why it's so important just to like try stuff and like not talk yourself out of things because like there's a thousand reasons to not do something, but it's probably such a wonderful feeling when you do something like that. And not only do you find it rewarding, but other people like reciprocate that. And
Yeah,
because especially in anything that is like I would say metaphysical, but like, anything that isn't like as substantial as like selling other types of art or things like that. It's so rare that like everyone comes away from things feeling good, Like,
right.
oh, I got a lot out of that, and so did the other person. So like that's a really special thing. That's really, really cool to hear. Because yeah, I feel like I'd have a hard time with that. So I give you a lot of credit for that. Now, reading for other people, like you've said that like you really enjoy it because you don't have that context. Is there are there challenges you run into with that? Because like I imagine that sometimes people either like if they're not familiar with tarot, aren't good at like formulating questions or come in with like different expectations versus what you're actually going to be doing. What are some challenges that you run into?
I I think not so much at my room over at Bottle
Hmm.
Brush Gallery.
Yeah,
Because I think if you're setting up an appointment for something like that, you at least somewhat know what you're getting into.
that's true. That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But at pop-ups and things like that, which can kind of be like here, there, and everywhere,
Hmm. Right,
um, especially if it's like if there's like alcohol involved, people
right.
can
Uh,
be
people. Yeah,
testy. But
yeah,
um, I think if people don't, there's a lot of people who think tarot and being a psychic are like the exact same thing.
right.
So I think sometimes you get people who want to like test you and don't want to give you
Yeah,
any context at all
to the questions. Yeah.
to the question. And I can tell you what the cards are saying, but you're going to get much more out of it if you're willing to share a little bit because I can't read
Hmm.
your mind, you
Right,
know?
right. Well, and I think a lot of it has to do, like you mentioned earlier, with like media portrayal of tarot. People
Mm.
think of like a Romani person in the back of a caravan, like
Yes.
dealing out cards, and it's like, no, like maybe, but generally not. Like, and it's like, it's funny because I feel like most, if not all the people I know that do tarot on some level will very quickly be like, this is not like a psychic mediumship thing.
Yeah.
Now there are people who are psychic mediums that do tarot as well, but it's it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's it's
Yeah.
not a complete overlap like some people like the media has kind of portrayed it over the years.
Yeah, I always tell people right off the bat that I am not a psychic because I there is overlap there and I want
Hmm.
people to like, have a good understanding of what they're coming into so they can get the best experience,
Right,
you know.
right.
But
Now, so that leads me to two questions. The first one is like, what do you think people who come to you, what are people generally looking to get out of a tarot reading? Is
I
it answers?
think
Is it like answers to specific questions, or is it guidance, or is it connection, or like I imagine there's a lot of people that come to you with a myriad of different types of expectations, I guess.
yeah, it's a lot of people. I often get people trying to make a decision
Okay. Yeah.
and kind of just looking for a different perspective on it.
Hmm.
Um like if you've kind of exhausted people in your life and you just want like a fresh
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. I think a lot of people just kind of want like some clarity.
Hmm.
Most often people really um if people don't have like something specific, I just kind
Hmm.
of say like let's just see what the universe wants you to know right now.
Right.
And it's a
Oh,
lot of that.
that's a good way of putting it. Ah, geez. That might be the best like pro tip I've heard so far today. With all the good information, that's a really good way of thinking about like what does the universe want you to hear right now? I love
Yeah, that's a good one
love that. That's fantastic.
it's always worthwhile and it's often
Yeah.
unexpected.
That's even yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that couldn't be more true. That's such a good way of putting it. Now, like with like people asking these different questions and everything, there's obviously like different. We've used the word spreads tonight, so when we say spreads, we're talking about different ways of asking questions and laying out cards, both like physically, like you actually lay the cards out in certain orders and in certain patterns. What are some spreads that you find are like generally like effective or spreads that you particularly are like into right now?
Okay. Well, it kind of depends on the question or
Right, I'm
if
sure.
there's like no question. Sometimes I don't use a spread at all. Sometimes I
Hmm.
just like intuitively lay down however many cards
Okay,
and
yeah.
just kind of see how they're all interacting with each other,
Hmm.
like to see what story they're trying to tell.
Oh, that's interesting.
Um,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. And then this is so basic, but I love a good past, present, future.
Hmm.
I think you can get so much
Yeah.
information out of that.
Right, right.
Um, and situation, advice, outcome, that's a good one too, especially like at
Situation,
at
advice,
a pop-up.
outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good one. But if I'm doing a longer reading for somebody,
Hmm.
my go-to is usually like the horseshoe spread.
Hmm.
Because that's like 7 cards, and that can give you like a really good overview of
Right.
whatever situation you're in that moment.
Hmm. Yeah, and like, yeah, I like how you're saying like you kind of have to tailor the type of spread to the type of question
Yeah.
that you're getting. I think like just personally where I run into problems sometimes is I try and basically fit a certain type of spread to the question. Like I do it probably backwards because I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. What can I ask?
Oh,
Kind of thing.
okay.
I think I fall into that trap sometimes, with the exception of there's this one Instagram handle that my one friend follows where she always gets these really good, I think it's like full moon or like any like seasonal change spreads.
Oh,
And
yeah,
like
those are fun.
it's one of those things where it's like you said like basic earlier. It is like the most basic clickbaity like Instagram witch stuff out there, but it is so freaking accurate. Like it's so good. Like
It
it's
doesn't
funny how
have to
that works.
be
Yeah,
like a Celtic cross. Like it can
right.
be. You can get so much information out of just one card. You know,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
it doesn't take much. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a whole big production.
Right. And I think that's one of like if people have a takeaway from this conversation, I hope that's one of them is that like things don't need to be as complicated as you probably think.
Right.
Um, like it's not like you're, you know, again, performing ritual magic where you're doing this really, really crazy stuff to get an answer to something that is not malleable at all. It's like actually the opposite. It's actually very
Right.
malleable. Um,
Yes.
now, like so with the different spreads and everything, I imagine like people have different reactions to things. And you mentioned earlier people like testing you. How do you generally deal with that? Because especially like my friends that are like psychic mediums and other folks that do tarot, like if they run into negativity, it's usually that kind of stuff like out in the wild where it's someone trying to like test you. And with there being so many misconceptions about tarot, do you kind of look at that as a way to like an excuse to educate people, or is it do you deflect into something else more useful? Like how do you deal with that just as like a tarot reader in a professional setting?
I've been really fortunate that I have not come across that very often.
That's good.
Just a handful of times, and it's always at some sort of event, and it's always
Hmm.
someone whose friend made them do it.
Right. Right.
Um, so I do try to educate, and I
Hmm.
try to tell people like because I really look at it as a conversation.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
don't want to monologue at you.
Hmm.
I really want to know what you see, what's jumping out at you, like, and I'll tell you what's jumping out at me, and
Hmm.
like let's see how this
Right.
is all working together. So I do
Right.
tell people, but some people don't want to play. So you just do the best you
Right.
can, and
No, absolutely. And I feel like folks that are in adjacent communities, especially in the paranormal, like whether you're a ghost hunter or a UFO investigator or Bigfoot people, like all those folks that are trying to actually do work run into bad actors and people that are giving them a hard time. And
yeah,
it's always like just a shame and says much more about the person that's being negative than it does about the person doing the work.
yeah.
So I'm glad that you've had that experience because I was worried that you were gonna be like, oh yeah, like 8 out of 10 people just ask me for lottery numbers and LOL. And so I'm glad that's not the case. That makes me really happy. Do you think
No,
that?
and I've had it where people have tried to. I had one client tried to test me, um, did not want to give me much information at
Hmm.
all, and I
Yeah.
just kind of like went with what came up, and
Hmm.
it was wild because I just remember about that reading that he got the justice card, so I had told him it was career related,
Okay.
his
Yeah.
question, and I was just like, this is some kind of legal issue. It's
Hmm.
maybe involving a judge or a lawyer, and
Hmm.
he ended up being a lawyer.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, so he walked away
Yeah.
like, he's like, okay, you proved yourself. And
You're
okay.
like, cool, man. That wasn't why I got up today. Like, come on.
Right. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. Well, but he walked away happy, so
But like as probably like unpleasant as that might have been for you or just disappointing, like it's maybe that's how the needle moves in society over time is enough people have enough good experiences that they go, oh, that person isn't a charlatan or a witch or like a bad person or like, and then maybe they tell their friend that they're a little bit more open down the road. That's what I tell myself that to try and deal with the negativity, I guess. So
Yeah, I mean, and like thankfully, like I've had very little negativity. I had some people once like yell at my booth that tarot was the work of the devil. But
like
and
you're like, actually,
and I told you about this. I was
yeah.
actually working with my Golden Girls deck that day,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that's
how can you be evil? Look at this.
because like, oh yeah, this is real threatening. Yeah, it's oh my gosh, and and again because it's on the media coverage, you can understand how folks that are uneducated, like are just woefully ignorant, like can believe that kind of stuff. But it takes so little conversation to help people realize, I think, that like it is a really useful tool, or can be a really useful tool for people. Um,
Yeah,
like anytime I've run into people being negative, I really try and use it as an excuse to talk about the benefits of it. Um,
yeah.
now, like now when it comes to like the other side of the spectrum, do you have any like memorable like spreads that you've had for a client that were like creepily on point, where you were both just like, wow, look at this?
Yes, I've had one where
And
it
I don't
was
want
like
to dox.
very
I don't want to dox anybody or anything.
no, no,
Obviously,
no.
like,
I'm trying to
yeah.
think. I'm trying to think how to phrase it, but I did
Hmm.
have one where somebody got like tower and it was like three of cups and it was like
Yikes.
pentacles heavy and I was like this looks like a cheating situation and
Yeah,
I
like
think
this
it's
doesn't
probably work
make
and it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, you're like, sorry, man, if you this is
Yeah, she's like, don't worry, I know about it. I'm like,
you're like,
okay,
oh my
okay.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that like I don't know, that's something we can probably get into that now. I think that like regardless of what's happening with tarot, because like you said, there are people who are psychic mediums that do this work. Traditionally, especially in media, tarot has been looked at as a form of divination, which is like reading the future. You'll talk to other people who think that tarot is kind of like a method of channeling. So I know we've talked in the podcast before. Channeling is basically like the idea that like spirits are speaking through people, or a god are speaking through people and manipulating the deck or the person pulling the cards. There's a lot of really heavy metaphysical stuff that can be tied to tarot cards. I think personally, regardless of what is happening, if you're getting positive impacts out of it, like what does it matter? I guess. Not what does it matter? Because I guess it totally could matter. If you think God pulled a card for you, yeah, that's probably a big deal, you know. But like what do you think about like what's happening with tarot cards?
That's such a complicated
It is. I know it's
question.
like it's like
Um,
everything and nothing at the same time, probably. But
well, and I know because I'm very much I've been saying this whole time we've been talking, like I think it's a tool for reflection and conversation
same.
and
Yeah.
exploring your paths. But
Right.
then like all of my interesting stories about tarot are when something weird happens that I can't
Yeah.
explain.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And both can be true. Both can be true, I think.
Yeah. And I
So,
think I do think there's something more happening.
mhm,
I think there
right.
has to be
Hmm.
given and you know this, the experiences that you've had
Right.
and
Yeah.
some of the things I've had go on. It's just like this cannot statistically
That's what gets me.
be random.
Yeah, that's what gets me. And like we talk a lot about on this show about like the Bader-Meinhof syndrome and confirmation bias, and
Hmm.
like if you don't think there's bias in your perception, like you are incorrect. Like that, like it
Right.
is omnipresent. So you have to like acknowledge that. But that being said, there is still stuff that happens, and it happens with like if the things that are really freaky were just like random, Like, oh, you pull enough cards, you're going to get a few weird ones, you know? If that was the case, why does it seem, and this is, I'm asking you and like people in general, if that's the case, if that's the Occam's razor, why does that seem to sync up to synchronicities, other weird things happening in our lives, and they seem to
Mm,
cluster. You know, you typically don't get like a weird thing that happens and then nothing else weird for a month, then another weird thing. It's usually like 3 days in a row and other weird stuff happens too. It seems to be
yeah.
it seems to cluster, which shouldn't statistically be the case.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the truth. And I think what it really comes down to is if you are skeptical and you want to explain away everything that's happening,
Hmm.
you can. And
Right.
I think if you are spiritual and you want to find meaning in everything that's happening,
Yeah.
you can too. And I think you just kind of have to decide where to lean, and
Hmm.
I know which one's more fun, so why
Right.
not lean into the idea that something more is at play here.
Right. I think it's a very healthy way of looking at it. And I think that it kind of goes with the self-reflective element of it, where as long as you kind of know where you're at, then it's probably going to be effective for you.
Yeah.
Like again, like I said, with like those two cards with me and my friend, I started off very skeptical, being like, "Oh, this is a tool for self-reflection that's going to
Yep.
augment my journaling and other stuff. There is nothing paranormal about this at all. It's just cool."
Yeah.
Cut to a few months later, and I'm like, "What's happening? What is going like just freak the hell out." So so just be prepared if you do get into this. If you're on one side, you might flip to the other eventually. So that
Coming to the
can
dark side.
yeah, coming exactly right. Yeah. Um, and it's just it's wild. So and I don't mind telling people one of the things that we when we did my reading last week, it feels like that was forever ago. It was only a week ago. That's insane. Um,
Yeah.
I think because I've been talking to so many people about like the spread and everything. The weirdest part about that one was just like how it started too.
Oh,
So like
looking at my
for
notes here.
yeah, for those of you out there that have never heard me talk about the idea of like spirit guides, spirit guides are like my like weird barometer. Like that's the thing that like I haven't quite broached yet. And I'm trying to learn more about them because I just don't know much about them. And so when we were talking about some of the questions that we could talk about, we decided to do something related to spirit guides. And you pulled like a vibe card off of your oracle deck that was the unrestful ancestors. It was just like,
Like first thing we pull.
yeah, it's just like, well, okay, I guess, yeah, it's just we're gonna start off being weird. Cool, great. So
Like,
like
okay, you heard us.
yeah, right. So it's like, yeah, like, so for some people, it might be like, oh, statistically speaking, sure, that you have a one in however many chance of that being the card. Sure. But it didn't feel that way. Like both of us were
No.
being, but we just started laughing. We're just like, well, okay, like off to the races.
Oh, that was
So
such a good way to start that.
it was,
I
it
I
was.
couldn't have picked a better card to pop up.
Seriously, seriously. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It was just, that was really fun. Um,
That was yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
so as we're kind of like wrapping up here and everything, because again, we could talk about this all night. But um, one of the last questions I have, just because there are so many people out there who, even if they're not into tarot yet, probably know it through, again, like media or like Instagram or TikTok or anything. Um, is there anything that you either have, again, mainly for new people, but just in general too? Do you have anything that people either need to like watch out for or any like hot takes around tarot right now? Since it is like starting to become a little more popular and more socially acceptable?
I mean, I do think it still has like a really I think it kind of has a bad reputation still. I think
Really?
it's
Okay.
come I
Yeah.
think it's come a long
Hmm.
way. But I do still think people are scared of it.
Hmm.
And I I I just think it's so the opposite of the way people think of it.
Right. Right.
So I just think before you form
Mm.
a judgment of it, like just look into it a little bit because it's not at all how it's portrayed.
I think that's a good way of putting it. I think that like again, if there's a takeaway, it's that like whatever you think, if you're new to it, whatever you think it is, it's not that. It's up. There's probably a lot of other elements to it that you're not even considering right now.
Yeah.
So come hang out with us on the weird side of things. Like
It's more fun on the
it is
weird
more at
side.
the very least it's more fun. Like I would say like from like a community standpoint too, and you might be able to speak to this better than me obviously, but I feel like generally speaking people that are into tarot are super pumped to talk to other people about tarot and like exchange ideas and ways of reading things. And like I think it is like a very open community in that sense. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, the tarot community is fantastic. And yes, I agree with you. When you told me that you read, I was like, like let's
Yeah.
talk. Let's talk right now.
Yeah, right
We're
now.
not
Like, yeah.
interviewing.
Yeah. Well, because again, you don't find like again, like you said, it is kind of becoming more popular, but it's certainly not as popular as I think it should be. So yeah, whenever you do find someone else who does it, it's like, oh, now we get to be best friends and nerd out about this. Awesome. So
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, I still feel like people think about it like a Ouija board, like you're
oh my
letting in
God.
something
Yeah, that's
evil and
true.
archaic, you know?
Right, right. And that's no, that is true. And again, like it's funny. The whole channeling element, like I can understand why people like have that misconception because of media and everything. And again, I get weirded out too sometimes. Like you do enough weird stuff and you're gonna run into weird things. Like I totally like allow for that element of it too. But I would say, even of the stuff that's weird, it's almost all overwhelmingly positive. And especially with tarot, the things that I don't think are positive, whenever I'm reading them, end up being positive. It's usually my perception of the cards or the situation at the time that
Hmm.
was either unhealthy or not true or biased in a way that I wasn't considering previously. It's not to like go back and look at that. I'm like, oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. That's what I was trying to tell myself.
Well, yeah, and we had talked about this too, like how
Yeah,
there's like the bad cards that people like are,
precisely.
but I don't believe in bad cards. I think
Hmm.
the cards that people are traditionally scared of are kind of just like, okay, like things that you have to get through to get to the good stuff
Precisely.
and things that had to happen for you to be on the right path.
Hmm. No, that's a really good way of putting it. So I think we're going to wrap for tonight. But what we're going to do for our next episode with you, Dana, is you've been kind enough to offer to do a reading for Nick. So I am so, I hope he's listening to this right now. I am so excited to have you do a reading for Nick because I don't think he's ever had a tarot reading. And
You haven't read for him?
no. Again, I'm very like I don't like reading for my friends necessarily. That's why I was so intrigued that you were doing that first, and then it was like for me, I think it's a pressure thing. Like I don't want to give them bad advice accidentally, or like
Yeah.
there's probably I need to do a little bit of self reflection on why I'm so adverse to that.
Well, it's a big jump. It's a big jump.
Yeah, it is. No, that's true. That's true. I just need to. I need to kind of channel some of your confidence. I think, and in your education, I need to read some of those books that you were talking about earlier. But I'm really excited about that other episode. So the next time we talk with you, Dana, on the show, it'll hopefully be at your studio in Bottle Brush Gallery in Harmony, and we'll be able to do reading with Nick and everything. And I think everyone will enjoy that because again, it's like no matter what comes of the cards, it's gonna be interesting one way or the other.
Oh
So
yeah. No, it's gonna be fun.
yeah,
I think he will be pleasantly surprised.
I think so too. I think so too. So that'll be hopefully in a few weeks here. But in the meantime, if anyone is interested in booking a session with you, which again I highly recommend, how can someone get a hold of you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Dana Arcana or my website. It's theblackcattarot.com. You could book from either one of those places.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure both of those are linked in the show notes. And we do have a lot of folks around here. We're both in Western Pennsylvania, but we do have a lot of folks who are all over the world. Do you do remote virtual sessions?
I don't, I'm not like offering them, like I don't advertise them, but I can. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's something that I know some people are very into. So one, just to throw that out there as a possibility.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to do that, just like, send me an email or send me a message and we'll work something out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, either way, thank you so much for your time tonight, Dana. And we'll absolutely be talking soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to be here.